In the last program, we mentioned how to get into these levels, so that we needed to get into a special type of mind training so as to slow down the brain waves. We mentioned closing of the eyes. We mentioned that we needed to learn to relax our minds and relax our bodies in order to find that center dimension where one can improve on intuition. The guessing faculty is now known as psi, PSI, psi faculty, or in the intuitive factor or intuition. So now we're going to explain the formula type techniques that are programmed or taught, learned by the student in the first part of the Silva method of mind training. In the first part, I'm going to cover right now, I'm reading from one of our books, Reflections. It is said that to be sure that you're taking the original lecture series, the Silva method, look for the following formula type techniques. And that means relaxation control comes first, sleep control, to awake control, dream control, and headache control. Now this is the first part of the Silva method. You learn to control these areas with mind training. So first of all, sleep control. The formula type technique, because we have already mentioned relaxation control, that we use special mental training exercises to control the activity of mind and to slow down the activity of your body, to be able to slow down the activity of your brain, or else we could never do it. Of course, all of this is done with your eyes open. So the first formula type technique is called the relaxation control, of course. Now, the second thing we learn is sleep control, meaning to go to sleep without drugs. We have had cases of people suffering insomnia for 20 or more years taking drugs in order to go to sleep. Well, once they learn the sleep control method, they don't need to take drugs anymore. So this sleep control formula type technique is impressed on your brain at deeper levels of awareness. In order to do so, we must first learn controlled relaxation, that formula type technique for relaxation control. Now, once we have learned that, we have found a special level for brain activity where all these other things can function with your impressing information, your desires, with more brain energy. So now, there is a formula type technique, a procedure to use, a step-by-step procedure in order to be able to go to sleep without drugs. So all of this is impressed in class at a certain level of mind. The instructor, the lecturer, will take the students to a certain mind dimension, mind level, where all this information is mentioned, impressed on your neurons, and it becomes effective then for you. So the lecturer does this for you in class. So the formula type technique is for you to be able to learn to go to sleep anytime, anywhere, without the need or use of drugs. So you can learn to go to sleep without drugs. Now that, health-wise, you see, because if you're used to taking drugs, drugs always alter your body chemistry, and not telling in the long run how many other systems, body systems, go out of control or are hindered in their functioning because of such drugs. Body creates its own drugs, its own chemistry. It doesn't need external chemistry to function normally. So then you will create an abnormal body chemistry situation when you take any kind of drug for any situation or any condition at all, especially if you take it every day, like for going to sleep. I mean, you're actually losing out or messing up other systems in your body. So then it's best to go to sleep naturally without the use of drugs. Now the next or the following formula type technique is to awake control, it means. Meaning going to sleep and awakening at a certain desired time without the use of an alarm clock. Now here, there's a phenomenon here that we need to explain in a certain way to understand it better. Say, for instance, that you have not slept for 48 hours, and it is imperative that you stay awake for so many more hours, yet you need to go to sleep. And you are afraid, you fear, that if you go to sleep, you will not wake up for 24 hours, when maybe your appointment or something that you need to do 3 hours later must be done 3 hours later, not 24 hours later. And if you go to sleep, have not slept for 48 hours, you might sleep right on through and not wake up 3 hours later. So then you program yourself by a special formula type technique impressed by the lecturer at a certain level of mind, a certain mind dimension that the lecturer has helped you learn to enter and impress this information, the formula type technique there. Now, this, for instance, say for instance, that you are at a specific level and you want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's a problem to be solved and you have to work on this problem at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's important for you to do so. And this is 12 o'clock at night. So you go to sleep at 12 o'clock, you enter your level that you're taught to enter by the lecturer in class, the Silva Method, and at your level, we call it your level, the ideal place to be, to do all of these beautiful things. At your level, you visualize in your mind your clock is 12 o'clock. Then you move the hands of the clock to point to 3 o'clock. Then you say, this is the time I need to awaken, and this is the time I will awaken, and then you go to sleep from there. At 3 o'clock in the morning, even if you are alone at home, nobody's there to awaken you, you will hear a voice, either a male or female voice. If your name is John, say, John, John, wake up. You said 3 o'clock, John, wake up. 3 o'clock, and you wake up, and you still hear the echo of the voice in your mind, and there's nobody home. The question has been asked by many, where did the voice come from? Nobody knows. It's a phenomenon. Nobody can explain. We say it comes from the other side. What do we mean by other side? The other side where we came from. This side is where we are. This side is the physical objective. The other side is the spiritual subjective. It's spiritual subjective. So we come from the spiritual subjective into the physical objective world, this side, and when we make our transition, we go back to the other side, the subjective spiritual dimension. So wherever we are, will be this side, and wherever we are not is the other side. So we're saying, you here on this side, somebody from the other side knows of what you want because you program yourself at a level where it seems like other intelligent beings from the other side become aware and they want to help. But they want to help when you are interested in waking up at the right time to solve a problem. You will not hear this voice if your intention is to wake up to go and rob a bank. That's not the correct thing. This is only for correction of problems, not for the creation of problems. And this has been proven time and again. So then, you use the awake control technique to be able to wake up at the right time without anybody awakening you or without the use of an alarm clock. Now, you can learn to wake up automatically by self-programming, your own self-programming at the ideal level of your mind that you will learn to enter by the Silva Method taught by the lecturer in class. Now that would be the awake control. Now the dream control. Oh, we have another one that's similar to the awake control. It's called, one is to awake and the other is awake control. Notice the difference here. To awake control means waking up at the right time. And awake control is to stay awake longer when you need to stay awake longer. Say, for instance, you need to study and it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you have a test tomorrow, and you don't want to go to sleep, you're feeling drowsy and sleepy. There's a formula type technique that you're taught at your proper level of mind by the lecturer in class, how to use this formula type technique so that you will stay awake longer to be able to study and be ready for your test the next day. Well, the same thing can be said if you're driving on a highway at night, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you feel drowsy and sleepy, you're afraid to go to sleep at the wheel. I mean, you're told what to do at your level, but you must do it at your level. You need to enter your level and go over what the lecturer has said to you, what instructions the lecturer in class has given you, and it will work. You will get into your level, and then you program yourself to stay awake, and then you will be just as awake as ever, as though you have slept so many hours. Every 4 hours, if you're in the highway, if you're in the road, every 4 hours you go to your level and program yourself for 15 minutes, and it's good for another 4 hours, and so on. You continue day and night without the need to go to sleep if you go to your level for 15 minutes after every 4 hours. So this is very, very important, very beneficial, especially when you're driving, you're on the highway at night or in the wee hours of the morning, not to go to sleep on the wheel. Now that is the awake control. The first one, when you move your hands of the clock, your mind to wake up at 3 o'clock, it's called to awake control. This here one, this formula type technique is called awake control. Now we go into the dream control. Some people claim that they do not dream. It is known that everybody dreams, but the problem is they do not remember the dreams. And some people claim to dream in black and white. Some people claim to dream in color. So you can correct all of this. If you're dreaming in black and white, you can learn to dream in color. If you don't recall your dreams, you can learn to recall your dreams. Now it is important that one will program oneself or learn to remember one's dreams. There's a lot of information here, because where do dreams take place? It's when you are asleep going back to where you came from. It's like going over the road that you've gone over so many times from the day that you were born to the present age. You're going back to the time you were born and back up again. You're going over back and forth to where you have been, and in so doing, you might pick up information that you can use now presently for solving a problem. So, for instance, if you have a problem and you want to solve it with a dream control type of technique, you first need to learn how to remember your dreams. So the lecturer will program information when you are at your right level that you can use the technique step-by-step procedure as what to do to remember a dream. First, dream, singular. Once you have learned to do this, the instructor will tell you what to do at your proper level to remember dreams, plural, more than one. Then once you have succeeded in this, you will then follow up with the following instruction as presented by your lecturer in your class at your level, how to remember not only one dream but dreams, and once you have succeeded, then how to remember a dream that will contain information that you can use to solve a problem with. Well, not only will you remember, because the instructor will impress the lecturer in class, will impress the right information at your level, not only to remember such a dream, to have such a dream, to remember it and to understand it, because some dreams are symbolic, and you may want to know what does a symbol mean. So you will not only learn to have a dream, you will learn to have dreams, you will learn to create a dream that will contain information that is for you to use to solve a problem that's bothering you. And you can also decipher symbolic dreams if so. So that is dream control. This is the dream control formula type technique. In the first part of the course, we also have headache control. Headache control, it is thought and is said and known that about 90% of all headaches are tension type headaches. And about 10% are chronic or so-called migraine. Well, there's a technique, a formula type technique, that a student can learn to use at his level, as impressed by the lecturer. When the student is at his level in class, the lecturer will explain the information as to what to do when you feel a headache, when you feel or have a headache. Sometimes it's physical, you have it. Sometimes it's psychological, you feel it. Well, feel it or have it, it hurts just as much. Well, as soon as you start, or if you have a headache, start feeling, or once you have a headache, you're told what to do to enter your level and what to do here to be able to relieve you of that headache. When you come out of your level, if you have solved maybe half of your problem, then you're told to wait 5 more minutes and re-enter it and take care of the other 5, or the other half, that is. So you can enter it once, twice, or 3 times to relieve yourself completely of such a headache. Now, if it's a tension type, you will always find that one application of this technique is good enough. If you have the so-called migraine or chronic type headaches, you may need to do it 3 times, 5 minutes apart. But then again, you will also learn how to prevent them. In other words, as soon as you start feeling and there's something going on, you enter your level and cut short that cycle. It will not happen again. So these are some of the techniques that you're going to learn to function on or at, or to use them for your benefit at your level. All this information is impressed at your deeper levels of mind once you have learned to enter such deeper levels of mind, and the lecturer will give you, or will present to you, will go through you or with you through mental training exercises, or mind gymnastics sometimes they're called, to be able to get you to find that dimension. And once you find it, and he will then help you learn how to use it. And this is what the Silva Method is about. The procedure is now called psyche orientation. The field would be psycho-orientology. A specialist in the field would be called a psych-orientologist. Well, this term has already been taken by Webster, dictionary people, and they claim they were going to include it and the explanation as to what it means and what it's for. It's something like saying hypnoanalysis or psychology or psychoanalysis. This is psycho-orientation, psycho-orientology. So it's 2 words combined: the mind, the psyche, and orientation of the mind. Orienting, guiding, educating the mind to find the proper dimension of brain activity and to learn to function within it. In essence, it means learning to use your subconscious consciously. That's what it all means. Then, of course, in following parts of our method, of the Silva Method, it's divided in 4 different parts. The first part, second, third, and fourth. In the second part, people will learn memory training, the 3 fingers technique, mirror of the mind, hand levitation, glove anesthesia, glass of water technique, habit control. Habit control, either for smoking or whatever habit you might have that you want to alter. When we talk about the mental screen that's going to be presented in the second part, or mentioned, and what it would be for, the mental screen, where these things take place, where should you visualize? Where should you imagine? In the mental screen area. So the lecturer will help you find that mental screen within your mind, so that you can visualize and imagine there. Visualization is to be able to recall what you have seen, and when you go over the impressions made on your brain, what you have seen, and imagination is creating something for the first time, mentally. Well, visualization is good for memory work using the left brain hemisphere. And visualization, as used by the left brain hemisphere, can be transferred, that image can be transferred to the right brain hemisphere, and in the right brain hemisphere area, you can alter it through or with imagination. We will discuss and mention those terms and what we mean by this as we get to those parts in the describing the coursework, the Silva Method. So the mental screen is that area where we detect information and where we can project information for solving other problems. Now, memory, of course, improving your memory is a tremendous thing, because it is said that when you impress information at 20 vibrations, the 20 vibration of the brain is the weakest part of the brain and the most unstable. You can imagine in going to school, clear through university phases and so on, and to be able to impress information where the brain is very weak. No wonder we forget almost everything that we have studied throughout our lifetime. This is why we have to refer to textbooks maybe to remind us or to recall information forgotten. Well, when you impress information at deeper levels of awareness, such as 10 cycle vibration, which is the strongest, the most energetic part of your brain, you are impressing information that you hear, see, or whatever perceive with the biological senses or with your mental senses very strongly on neurons. And a strong impression on neurons is not so very easily forgotten. It's easily remembered. And this is good for better memory and recall. So then memory is mentioned. You have to use, improve your memory in your second part of the Silva method. The three fingers technique is for self-programming. The explanation will be given to you and impressed at the right level of your awareness, at your ideal level of mind by the lecturer in class. The three-finger technique is for recalling anything you want to recall, if this is what you want. It's for impressing on yourself. You can alter habits by self-impression, impressing with more brain energy. The three-finger technique will be explained thoroughly as to why it's so valuable and interesting, because it is for self-programming, but students in the field have found other applications that we did not recommend or we did not know that could also be used, such as some students say that by using the three-finger technique, they can find parking places when it's difficult to find parking places. Now that, I have said some of the students, I need to see for it to work. But now that I've gone around the world in so many nations, 72 nations now, and we have over 6 million people already trained in this Silva method, I hear this very frequently in every nation, in many languages, that they do find parking places when they need to find parking places where they need them. And when they need them, by using the three-finger technique before they leave home, or when they're going in their automobile before they reach that spot or that particular neighborhood, and they claim to find vacant spots where they can park the car. Well, the three-finger technique was not conceived for that purpose. It was conceived for self-programming only. Now, others have said that they also change traffic lights when they're in a hurry. Now, that I've got to see to believe, even myself. I've seen so many things, and it's hard to believe all these things that we have seen now. But now, since we have seen so many, say, things, freakish, we call them freakish things, you know, very unusual things, well, we now believe that this is possible because so many have said this. But three-finger technique, formula-type technique, is for self-programming, for stronger programming on your own person, for suggesting to yourself the correction of bad habits, for the impression of good habits on your own person. This is using more brain energy for your own body and mind control by the use of the three-finger technique, formula-type technique. So then we have mirror of the mind. Mirror of the mind is one of the simplest and the first technique to help you solve problems, your problems, or somebody else's problems, by using the mirror of the mind. You are told what to do and how to use it at your level by the lecturer in class, of course. It has to be impressed at the right dimension of mind for it to be effective when you want to use it in the future. So then, let's suppose you have a problem, you frame it with a blue frame, we call it. A mirror with a blue frame. You visualize, imagine seeing the person on your image of the person framed with a blue frame mirror. Then you move it to the left and change the color to white, and you see the problem resolved. Isn't that easy? Very simple it appears to be, but it's been so effective in solving many problems. But you need to know in what direction to place it in your mental screen, in what direction to place the dark or blue mirror and the frame mirror and the white one. So later we'll explain in more detail about what we